Alex here with a high conflict child custody video on denying visitation over child support. And this is a pretty common issue, not as common as it was in the past. In fact, I believe in the past you could get away with it quite easily by saying that the other parent's not paying child support, therefore the kids can't go over there. You'd pretty much get the approval of a court, or not maybe the approval, but you wouldn't really be punished. Whereas nowadays, if you try and do that, at least in Nevada, you could be held in contempt of court, even if you do show the judge that the other parent hasn't paid child support. The judges here are getting pretty good about keeping those two issues separate and punishing the parents who flout the law. There, are, there, there has been at least one case, and I can't remember the name or the case number, where a parent filed in order to show cause for, I think it was child support that they weren't getting, against the other parent, and the other parent and their attorney countered by filing an order to show cause on visitation, because that first parent wasn't letting the non-custodial parent see the kids because they weren't paying child support. And if I remember this correctly, the judge actually held both parents in contempt of court, one of them for not paying child support and the other one for denying visitation. That does happen. It's not a good thing to do, in the sense of you kind of put yourself in a legally risky situation. In my personal case, my ex didn't pay child support. There were a few times when I filed motions, and to sort of get out of trouble, she sent me lump sum checks. But aside from those two incidents, for the most part, she wouldn't pay her child support. Um, and so in my situation, I could have said, I'm not going to let you see the kids. But number one, I knew she would have come after me. And number two, I kind of got the vibe that she wanted me to do that. It's just this weird feeling that she sort of was kind of baiting me into saying, well, you can't see him since you're not paying child support, so that she could it's really crazy how high conflict people think. But anyway, I didn't go for it. I always kept the child support issue separate from the visitation issue. She always was able to exercise her visitation within the parameters that the court allowed. And when I wasn't getting child support, I dealt with it in my own way. One time I went after her personally using the execution process. I have a video on that. And another time I used the Child Support Enforcement Division. And that's kind of the way I'm going now. With respect to child support, there's some other costs that I'm owed that I'm probably going to continue to use the execution process to collect on. But anyway, that's how I dealt with it in my case. I just kept they're separate issues legally, so I dealt with them separately. I wouldn't even send emails asking for money, to insinuate that you won't be able to see him if you don't send something. I know some people don't actually go as far as to deny visitation, but they will send communication like emails and texts insinuating that, I'm expecting some kind of money when you come get the kids, stuff like that, which is kind of borderline coercive, but I didn't even do that, and I'm not sure if that's the best way to go. And the reason it's not the best way to go is because what it comes down to is best interest of the child. The court sees financial support as in the child's best interest, and the court sees seeing the non-custodial parent as in the child's best interest. So it's easy for a person to think, well, if I'm not getting A, I'm going to deny you B. But that only really works in the sense of seeing the child as some kind of possession that you own, or seeing the child as some kind of award that the other parent has to earn, and it completely misses the whole notion that it's in their best interest to get the money, and it's in their best interest to have visitation with a non-custodial parent. And so if they're not getting one, the solution is not to take away the other. That just makes things twice as bad. Now the child is being damaged twice as badly. There are situations where some people just can't get their finances together. They're deadbeat parents, but they still want to see the kids. And the kids do benefit emotionally from seeing the non-custodial parent with all the issues that they have. If they're not severe drug addicts or criminals, and they're just emotionally immature, but they're able to, be some kind of father or mother figure for that child, even though they're not paying any support. At least the kid is getting something. At least they're getting something in their best interests. The judges in the courts and the law, it doesn't stand for approaching a situation where the kids aren't getting something that's in their best interest, and therefore the solution is to take more of their best interest things away from them. It's just causing them even more pain. So that I want to kind of end this video with, I really don't think that this is an issue with parents who actually love their kids deeply and see that their kids are growing healthily, they're thriving with that contact with the non-custodial parent. The instinct of these parents is not to deprive the child of something that makes them happy. I think this comes down to parents who either don't see any value at all in their kids spending time with a non-custodial parent, or specifically, whether they see the kids being damaged or not, they specifically feel that their wishes or their the pleasure that they get out of depriving the other parent, the non-custodial parent, out of visitation supersedes what's good for their kids. So what I'm trying to get at here is, I kind of feel like it's just a pretext, some kind of excuse that it just gets taken advantage of. In other words, it's not really that they are punishing the other parent for not getting child support, as much as they're just taking advantage of the fact that that gives them an excuse to sort of deprive the other parent of visitation, because that's actually what they really want. So more so, they're just saying, well, now I have a reason and I can probably get away with it, so I'm just going to use this reason. And yeah, you can't see the kids. It's a sad situation when that happens, because some judges, especially newbie judges, can kind of fall for that, and they'll let the parent off. They'll say, slap on the wrist, don't do that anymore. Kids need to see the other parent, and you need to pay your child support, or else. But some of the more veteran, experienced judges right away will just contempt of court the parent who's depriving the non-custodial parent of visitation. Causes a lot of harm to the kids to not see the other parent for so long. And I'm just speaking generally, I'm not talking about exceptions where you've got abusive parents, drug addicts, criminals, and stuff like that. If the parent's a fit parent and they're being deprived of visitation just because they didn't pay child support, it's not a good situation, because a fit parent is going to confer the love and affection on their children that they need from both parents. That second part of the parental equation is a strong need, and it's the research is out there that it causes issues for the kids to not have that meaningful contact with the other parent. I'm going to just go ahead and disclaimer one more time. I'm just talking about ordinary situations. A situation where a parent is unfit because of abuse or neglect, or domestic violence, or any of those situations. I'm not talking about that right now in this video. I'm just focusing in, laser beaming in on the issue of parents using non-payment of child support as a reason or a basis to deprive the non-custodial parent of visitation. So I don't know if anyone really hasn't got the gist of this video yet, but I do think that if you're struggling financially, you're not able to pay child support, and you're afraid of how it's going to look in court, and it sucks because sometimes this really turns into a bargaining chip. Sometimes pushing too hard to get your visitation rights kind of makes the other parent kind of play that I'm going to hold you in contempt of court card if you keep on pushing that you want to see the kids and you're not paying me child support. I mean, honestly, the best thing that you can do is try to figure out that child support situation so that you don't have that fear looming over you, because it is a fear. And I have heard of situations where people play that they use it as a strategic sort of threat. They don't go after you for child support even though they could. They keep quiet, but they kind of hold that over your head that if you want to see the kids, if you push me enough, I will go after you. And it's really sad that people do that. And a lot of times I feel like it does work. And I don't know what to say about that except for watch my video on child support and try to figure out how to straighten out your child support situation. Because if you can't afford to pay it because you're not making enough money, you should get your child support order modified as soon as you can so that you can catch up. Don't try to pay 30-40% of your income when you only need to pay 18% just because you're too lazy to go back to court and fix it. It's a common issue that people need to modify child support. Jobs change all the time. Judges are used to dealing with this issue, and you just have to, be willing to go back and get that amount reduced. When your pay gets reduced, you need to reduce your child support so that you don't end up in this situation where you have an ex that, and I feel like this is almost the worst situation, where you have an ex that actually doesn't go after you in the court system, and instead they just threaten you that if you don't go away, they will go after you. I feel like it's the worst situation because a lot of people just say, okay, and they walk away, and it hurts the kids because they don't have a parent in their life the whole time. And some people just don't know anything about the law, and they don't know that they can get their child support fixed and adjusted and reduced. They don't know anything about that, and they're scared. They can't afford an attorney, and so it's just out of sight, out of mind. They go away, and the kid gets raised by just one parent when they could have been raised by two. So I guess at this point, I'm going to go ahead and end this video. I know for sure that there are people that have had this happen to them. So if you're one of them, you want to post in the comments below. That's something that you could do. And with that, I'll go ahead and end this video.